She had always hated lawyers' offices. There was something about the silence. Not peaceful silence, but the kind that felt heavy, like every word spoken inside those walls carried consequences that could not be undone. The air always smelled faintly of paper, leather, and something colder, something official. Layla Vance sat across from the polished oak desk, her fingers resting lightly on the stack of documents in front of her. Her posture was straight, composed, almost too composed for someone who had just lost her father 3 weeks ago. Grief had not come the way she expected. No dramatic breakdowns, no uncontrollable sobbing, just a quiet numbness, like the world had dimmed slightly and refused to brighten again. "I know this is a difficult time," the lawyer said gently, adjusting his glasses as he slid another sheet toward her. "Your father's estate was fairly organized, which makes this process smoother. These are standard inheritance confirmations." Layla nodded without really hearing him. Her father had always been meticulous, everything labeled, everything filed, even his emotions, she sometimes thought. She picked up the pen. One signature, then another. Her name flowed automatically across the pages. Years of signing documents at work had turned it into muscle memory. She barely needed to look anymore. But then, her hand paused. Something felt off. It was subtle, a flicker of awareness, a small disturbance in the fog that had surrounded her for weeks. Her eyes moved back to the previous page. Slowly, carefully, she leaned forward. "I'm sorry," she said quietly. "Can I see that page again?" "Of course." The lawyer turned it back toward her. Layla's gaze scanned the text. Her name appeared multiple times. That wasn't unusual. Beneficiary, next of kin, executor. But then her eyes stopped and didn't move. For a moment, her brain refused to process what she was seeing. It didn't make sense. It couldn't. Her name, Layla Vance, listed under a different section. Not as beneficiary, not as executor, but as deceased. Her heartbeat stuttered. "What is this?" she asked, her voice calm in a way that felt unnatural even to her own ears. The lawyer frowned slightly, leaning forward. "Where?" She pointed. "Right there. A small section, easy to miss if you weren't paying attention, but once seen, impossible to ignore." The lawyer adjusted his glasses again, his expression shifting from mild curiosity to confusion. "That doesn't seem right," he murmured. "This isn't part of your father's estate documentation." Layla didn't blink. "If it's not part of his estate, then why is it in my file?" A silence stretched between them, the kind of silence that grows teeth. "I'll need to check where this came from," the lawyer said, already flipping through the documents, his movements sharper now. "This may have been included by mistake." Mistake. The word echoed in her mind, but something deep inside her, something instinctive, rejected it immediately. This wasn't a mistake. She knew that before he even finished speaking. "Can I take a photo of it?" The lawyer hesitated for half a second, then nodded. "Yes, that's fine." Layla picked up her phone. Her hands were steady, too steady. She snapped a clear picture of the page, then another, and another. Zoomed in on the section, on her name, on the word beside it, deceased. She lowered her phone slowly. "Continue," she said. The lawyer looked at her, surprised by her composure, but didn't question it. They finished the paperwork. She signed everything, listened to explanations, nodded when appropriate. But her mind was no longer in that room. It was somewhere else entirely, connecting dots that hadn't even fully formed yet. That evening, she sat alone in her car. The engine was off. The world outside moved normally. People walking, cars passing, life continuing. But inside the car, everything had shifted. She opened her phone, pulled up the photo, zoomed in again. Deceased. Her name. A mistake? No. There was only one person who had access to her personal documents, one person who handled anything remotely official in their household, one person who slowly, over the years, had positioned himself as the one who takes care of everything. Marcus, her husband. Her jaw tightened. Her breathing remained slow, controlled. This wasn't panic. This wasn't shock. This was something colder, more precise. If this was what she thought it was, then it wasn't just betrayal. It was planning. And if he was planning, then she needed to be smarter than him. Not louder, not emotional, smarter. Layla locked her phone, started the engine, and drove home. Marcus was in the kitchen when she walked in, cooking. That alone almost made her laugh. He rarely cooked. "Hey," he said casually, not even turning around at first. "You're late. Everything okay at the lawyer's office?" Layla watched him. Every movement, every detail, the relaxed posture, the easy tone, the complete absence of concern. "I'm fine," she said. He turned then, smiling briefly. "Good, dinner's almost ready." She nodded, set her bag down, took off her coat. Normal. Everything had to be normal, for now. She stepped into the kitchen, leaning lightly against the counter. "What are you making?" "Pasta. Figured you haven't been eating properly lately." Concern. Care. The perfect husband. She almost admired it. "Thank you," she said softly. He smiled again. If she didn't know, if she hadn't seen that document, she would have believed him completely. That night, she didn't confront him. She didn't ask questions. She didn't even hint that anything was wrong. Instead, she waited and watched. Marcus fell asleep quickly, as he always did. Layla lay beside him, eyes open in the darkness, her mind working, step by step. If he had put her down as deceased somewhere, then it meant one thing: money, insurance. There had to be a policy, and if there was a policy, there would be a beneficiary. She slowly slipped out of bed, careful not to wake him, her movements silent, practiced. She walked into the living room, opened her laptop, and began searching. 2 hours later, she found it, and life insurance policy, taken out 6 months ago. Her name, Layla Vance. Status, deceased. Her fingers hovered over the trackpad, then moved, scrolling, scrolling, until she reached the bottom, beneficiary. Her breath didn't change, her expression didn't shift, but something inside her hardened. Not Marcus. No, that would have been too simple, too obvious. The beneficiary was listed as Elena Cross. Layla stared at the name. Unknown, unfamiliar, but not for long. Another search, another click, another layer peeled back. And then, there she was, a woman in her early 30s, blonde, smiling, social media full of luxury dinners, weekend trips, carefully curated photos, and in one of them, Marcus, in the background, hand on her waist, close, too close. Layla weaned back slowly. Everything clicked into place. The late nights, the sudden business trips, the emotional distance. This wasn't just an affair. This was a plan, a calculated, cold plan. Her death, his payout, their future. Together. For a long moment, she said nothing, did nothing, just sat there in the quiet glow of the screen. Then, very slowly, she smiled. Not for happiness, but for clarity. If Marcus thought she was already dead, then she had an advantage, a powerful one, and she wasn't going to waste it. The next morning, she made him breakfast, his favorite: eggs, toast, coffee exactly the way he liked it. Marcus looked surprised. "Wow," he said, sitting down. "What's the occasion?" Layla smiled faintly. Just felt like it. He studied her for a second, then shrugged. Not complaining. He started eating, relaxed, comfortable, unaware, completely unaware. Layla stepped into the kitchen, leaning lightly against the counter. "What are you making?" "Pasta. Figured you haven't been eating properly lately." Concern, care, the perfect husband. She almost admired it. "Thank you," she said softly. He smiled again. If she didn't know, if she hadn't seen that document, she would have believed him completely. The first move was silence. Not weakness, not hesitation. Strategy. Layla went to work like any other day. She answered emails, attended meetings, reviewed reports. To anyone watching, she was the same composed, efficient woman she had always been. But behind that calm surface, everything was shifting. At lunch, instead of sitting with her colleagues, she stepped outside and made a call. Her voice was steady. "Hello, I'd like to report a potential case of insurance fraud. There was a pause on the other end. Can you provide more details, ma'am? I believe someone has taken out a life insurance policy in my name and listed me as deceased. Silence. Then the tone on the line changed completely. Are you safe right now? Layla glanced through the glass window behind her. Her coworkers laughed over coffee. Cars moved lazily on the street. Yes, she said, for now. All right, I'm going to connect you with an investigator. Please don't confront anyone involved until we've reviewed the case. I won't. And she meant it. 2 days later, she sat in a different office, smaller, less polished than the lawyer's, but far more serious. Across from her sat a man in his early 40s, sharp eyes, minimal expression, a file already open in front of him. Ms. Vance, he said, my name is Daniel Reeves. I handle fraud investigations. What you're describing is not minor. Layla slid her phone across the table. Photos, documents, screenshots. He studied them in silence. Minutes passed. When he finally looked up, there was no doubt in his eyes anymore. This is deliberate, he said. I know. Who has access to your identity documents? My husband. Another pause. Reeves nodded slowly, as if confirming something already suspected. And this beneficiary, Elena Cross, do you know her? Layla's jaw tightened slightly. No, but he does. Reeves closed the file gently. Then we proceed carefully, he said. Cases like this require proof of intent, not just paperwork. We need to show that this wasn't an administrative error. We need motive, coordination, communication. Layla leaned forward slightly. What do you need from me? His answer was simple. Time and cooperation. That night, Layla became someone else. Not outwardly. Marcus saw the same woman, but internally, she was calculating every word, every glance, every reaction. She started noticing things she had ignored before. His phone, always face down, his sudden need to step outside for calls, the way he smiled at messages and then quickly erased the expression. Patterns, tiny details, but they built a picture. And Layla was patient, very patient. A week passed. Then came the first crack. Marcus left his laptop open. It was rare. He was usually careful. But people get comfortable, careless. Layla sat on the couch, scrolling her phone, waiting, listening. The shower was running, water hitting tile. He wouldn't be out for at least 10 minutes. Slowly, she stood, walked to the table, opened the laptop. No hesitation, no panic, just precision. Email, inbox. Most of it was normal. Work, bills, spam. Then a folder. Hidden, not labeled clearly, just a string of numbers. Layla clicked it. And there it was. Dozens of emails, all from the same contact, Elena. Her chest didn't tighten. Her breathing didn't change. She simply read. We're close. Just need everything finalized. Are you sure she won't find out? She won't, trust me. After this, we're free. Free. The word sat heavily on the screen. Layla took out her phone. Photos. Every email, every timestamp, every line. Then one message, the most recent. Once the claim is approved, we can leave immediately. No more hiding. Layla stared at it for a long moment, then quietly closed the laptop, returned to the couch, exactly as she had been. Seconds later, the shower stopped. Marcus walked out, towel around his neck, completely unaware that his entire plan had just been exposed. You okay? He asked casually. Layla looked up and smiled faintly. Yeah, just tired. That night, she sent everything to Reeves. Every file, every screenshot, every piece of evidence. His reply came within minutes. This is enough to move forward. 3 days later, Reeves called her again. We're setting a trap, he said. Layla didn't react immediately. What kind of trap?
We'll push the insurance company to process part of the claim, not fully, but enough to force action from them. Them. Not just Marcus. Elena, too. They'll think it's working, Reeves continued, and when people think they've won, they get sloppy. Layla's fingers tightened slightly around the phone. What do I need to do? Act normal. Completely normal. Let him believe everything is on track. She nodded. I can do that. And she did. Perfectly. Days turned into another week. Marcus grew lighter, happier, more relaxed. He started humming again, started sleeping better, even joked at dinner. Layla watched it all. Every moment, every false expression, every lie wrapped in casual conversation. Until finally, the moment came. It was a Friday evening. Marcus walked in with a smile she hadn't seen in months. Good news, he said, tossing his keys on the table. Layla looked up from the couch. Oh? Work stuff, he said quickly. Looks like I might have to travel next week. Travel? Of course. Layla tilted her head slightly. For how long? Not sure. Maybe a few days. She nodded slowly. That's great. He smiled wider. Yeah, it is. Later that night, while he slept, her phone buzzed. A message from Reeves. It's happening. Partial claim initiated. They've taken the bait. Layla stared at the screen. Her pulse steady. Everything was aligning. The next morning, Marcus was different. Nervous, checking his phone constantly, stepping outside for calls. His excitement now mixed with urgency. Layla pretended not to notice, but inside, she was counting down. By evening, Reeves called again. Tomorrow, he said. We move in tomorrow. Layla closed her eyes briefly. A slow breath. What happens? You'll be there. We need your presence when Anthony comes out. It strengthens the case. She nodded, even though he couldn't see it. I'll be ready. Sunday morning, Layla woke up before Marcus. The sun filtered softly through the curtains. The world looked calm, peaceful, like nothing was about to explode. She got out of bed, dressed carefully, simple, clean, controlled. When Marcus woke up, she was already in the kitchen. Coffee ready, breakfast on the table. He smiled. You're up early? Couldn't sleep, she said. He didn't question it. Why would he? In his mind, everything was going exactly as planned. At 10:17 a.m., there was a knock on the door. Marcus frowned slightly. Are you expecting someone? Layla looked at him, and for the first time, there was something different in her eyes. Calm, but sharp. No, she said quietly. Another knock, stronger this time. Marcus walked toward the door, opened it, and froze. 2 men, 1 woman. Badges. Mr. Marcus Vance? One of them asked, his voice steady, official. Marcus blinked. Yes? Yes? We need to speak with you regarding an ongoing insurance fraud investigation. Silence. Heavy. Instant. Marcus's face drained of color. What are you talking about? Behind him, Layla stepped forward slowly, her voice calm, cold, precise. You can start with how I died, she said. Marcus turned, slowly. His eyes met hers, and in that moment, everything shattered.
Marcus didn't speak. For a few seconds, he couldn't. His mouth opened slightly, but no words came out. His eyes moved between the officers and Layla, as if trying to understand how a reality he thought was sealed and finished had suddenly come undone. This has to be a mistake, he said finally, his voice uneven. There's some kind of misunderstanding. The lead investigator stepped forward. There's no misunderstanding, he said calmly. We have documentation of a life insurance policy filed under your wife's name, listing her as deceased. We also have evidence of communication suggesting intent to claim that policy fraudulently. Marcus shook his head quickly. No, that's not. I didn't. You didn't? Layla's voice cut through his panic.
It wasn't loud. It didn't need to be. He looked at her again, and this time he saw it. Not grief, not confusion, not the quiet, distant woman he thought he had been manipulating for months. He saw clarity, control, and something far more dangerous: awareness. "You read it," he whispered. Layla held his gaze. "Yes," she said, "I read it." Silence swallowed the room. The second investigator stepped inside, holding a folder. "We're going to need you to come with us, Mr. Vance." Marcus took a step back. "This is insane," he said, louder now. "You're basing this on emails? Anyone could fake that. This doesn't prove anything." The investigator opened the folder. "It's not just emails," he said. "We have timestamps, IP logs, policy records, and confirmation from the insurance provider. The claim process was initiated yesterday." Marcus's breathing became uneven. His eyes darted again. To Layla, to the officers, to the door. Calculating, looking for a way out. There wasn't one. "You don't understand," he said suddenly, his voice dropping, shifting tone. "This isn't what it looks like." Layla tilted her head slightly. "Then explain it," she said. For a moment, it looked like he might try to twist it, reshape it, turn it into something else. But then, something broke. His shoulders dropped, his face changed, and the truth came out. "I was going to fix it. It wasn't supposed to go like this." Layla didn't move. "What?" "The money," he said. "We needed it. You were drowning in work, everything was falling apart. I thought I could solve it." Layla let out a soft breath. "You were going to solve it by killing me." "I didn't say that," he snapped. "You didn't have to." The room went still again. The third officer spoke this time. "Where is Elena Cross?" Marcus froze, just for a fraction of a second, but it was enough. "We know she's involved. We'd prefer if you cooperated." Marcus's eyes closed briefly. When they opened, there was no more pretending. "She's at the hotel," he said quietly. 2 hours later, Layla stood in the hallway of a quiet hotel. The carpet muted every step. The air smelled faintly of artificial freshness. Room 214, the door in front of her. Behind it, the woman who had been planning her future, using Layla's death as the foundation. Reeves stood beside her. "You don't have to go in," he said. Layla looked straight ahead. "Yes," she said, "I do." The door opened. One of the officers stepped inside first. Then, Layla followed. Elena Cross was sitting on the edge of the bed, phone in hand, half smiling at something on the screen. She looked up, and everything changed. The color drained from her face instantly. The phone slipped from her fingers. It hit the floor with a soft thud. "No," she whispered. Her eyes locked onto Layla, wide, unbelieving. "That's not possible." Layla stepped forward slowly, each step measured, deliberate. "You look disappointed," she said calmly. Elena shook her head, backing up slightly. No, that's not. I didn't." Marcus said, "What?" Layla asked. "That it was handled, that everything was taken care of." Layla let out a soft breath. "You were going to handle it by killing me." "I didn't say that," she snapped. "You didn't have to." The room went still again. The third officer spoke this time. "Where is Elena Cross?" Elena froze, just for a fraction of a second, but it was enough. "We know she's involved. We'd prefer if you cooperated." Elena's eyes closed briefly. When they opened, there was no more pretending. "She's at the hotel," he said quietly. Hours later, it was over. Statements taken, evidence secured, arrests made. The plan destroyed. That night, Layla sat alone in her house. The same house that had once felt stable, safe, now quiet in a different way. Not heavy, not broken, just clear. She looked around slowly. Every object, every memory, every piece of a life that had almost been erased. And then she stood, walked to the window, looked out at the city lights in the distance. Alive. That word felt different now, stronger, more real. Her phone buzzed. A message from Reeves. "It's done. Charges are moving forward. You did everything right." Layla read it, then locked the phone, set it aside. No celebration, no dramatic reaction, just a quiet understanding. She hadn't just survived, she had seen the truth and faced it without breaking. Somewhere, in a holding cell, Marcus sat in silence, the weight of everything settling in. The plan he thought was perfect, the future he thought was guaranteed, gone. Because of one thing, one small detail he overlooked. He assumed she wouldn't look. He assumed she wouldn't question. He assumed she wouldn't fight. He assumed she was already gone. But he was wrong. And the woman he tried to erase didn't just come back. She made sure everyone knew she was never gone at all.